Well, well, well. Look who come crawling back to castles and cryptids.
Right? After our, like, what was the last one? UK? That was a tough episode.
That just came out today.
Yeah.
Shit, we gotta get on it.
I know, we have to, like...
We're behind, guys.
We have to pre-record some episodes.
We like to be ahead.
Anytime we're ahead, I feel like we immediately fall behind. It never lasts more than, like, a week.
God damn it. I know. I'm a bit of a procrastinator. Like, because once I get going on notes, I feel like I can do them pretty fast. Question mark? I don't know. Like, I watched a documentary last night that there was about the case that I'm doing for our next crime one.
Cool.
Which is going to... Should we tell them what it's going to do? Yeah.
Yeah,
this is after this one.
Yeah. We normally let them know at the end of the episode. We can let them know at the beginning. In case you want to skip this one if the next one's out.
It's abductions.
Yeah.
Well, kidnapping. We could call it something like abductions in plain sight, like that Netflix. Did you ever see that crazy show?
Oh, that
Abducted in Plain
scares
Sight.
me too much. I don't like that. Every time I'd add it to my list on Netflix, and then the little, like, trailer that autoplays would autoplay, and I'm like, nope, too creepy, and I'd take it off my list.
I think the creepiest thing about it is how manipulated both of her parents became by the same the perpetrator, who was just a horrible person. Oh my god, it's so good though.
In my research though, I realized almost any child murder is considered an abduction or kidnapping.
Oh god.
Because I found a Wikipedia page that listed every kidnapping that apparently has, like, ever happened. I don't think it would be ever, but it had hundreds listed. And it was by century. So it was, like, the year 1800 to 1900, and then 1900 to 1950, and then 1950 to 1975 or something. It had it broken into segments. Yeah, and I scrolled through it. And I was like, well, one of my cases isn't on here, but the other one is. And then, I was going through. Cases. Yeah, and I was going through and I was like, wow, these are pretty much just like any time a kid was taken. It was like, kid was taken for 2 hours and then murdered. And I was like, well, does that classify as a kidnapping? I'm like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, just getting into the semantics of it.
Yeah, I was like, I guess so. Yeah, so one of mine is kind of like that. It may or may not, you may or may not consider it a kidnapping, but my other one definitely is. So that's kind of why I'm doing two.
It counts.
Yeah.
If they're gone for a period of time, like, the kid has been nabbed. You'd be scared. You would notice.
Exactly.
And it's probably, like, the most famous ones, too, on the list. I would hazard a guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy, though. There's so many. There is so many.
But it was interesting because each one had, like, a little blurb about it, so you could kind of learn about, like, I learned about, like, upwards of 100 kidnappings in, like, 20 minutes.
No.
Like, yeah.
Then did you have to go on, what is it, r/iBleach on Reddit, which is just, like, kittens and puppies and, like, cute animals doing
Pretty
things.
much. I'm pretty sure I just closed the tab and went to Netflix and was like, something happy, please.
I need therapy now.
Yeah. Just
wait, isn't that from a cartoon or something? I just remember someone being like, I'm traumatized now. It might be The Simpsons. I can't recall.
Oh, maybe.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anywho, what are we... That's
this week, though. That's next week.
That's our banter. We were doing some real... What the hell were we talking about before? Oh, we were like ranting. And this is the rant and rave section. The state of the world today. Ugh. Yeah. It's atrocious.
We were getting deep. We were getting deep.
Yes, but we're not, nobody will ever come to us for the political scoop.
No.
And we're fine with that.
No, that gets you in touchy water and
No. We're here for the crime and the curiousness of it all, of the weirdness.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
This week is I don't know, originally we just said it was Egypt, and then in my head I was thinking ancient Egypt, and I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know. It's Egypt.
It is. It's like mysteries of
Yeah.
Egypt, I would say.
A lot of mysteries of Egypt.
Sorry. Sorry. Just staring at my paper mesmerized.
Words on paper.
I know how to podcast now. Oh, great. Keep all this in. No.
Yeah, we're 3 episodes away from our 6-month anniversary, and we know how to podcast.
Oh.
Yeah.
We're big girls now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I am excited to talk about Egypt. Ancient Egypt. Ugh. There's a lot of mysteries and curses and secrets
Yeah.
and wild shit. And I'm excited. You could probably, like, there probably is entire podcasts about Egypt. There's definitely entire episodes about the curses.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Which I'm excited because you're going to talk about some curse-related stuff, right? If I'm right.
My research kind of kept continually changing.
Oh my
I
god. I could have kept going forever.
I
could have just kept reading things and just adding stuff. And then I'm like, wait.
Well, like, I think I had told you
Stop.
at one point I was gonna talk about, because I didn't know if you knew about it or not, the lost city of Punt. And then, so I had, like, a whole...
Punt with a P as in Peter?
Yeah, P-U-N-T.
Just to clarify.
I'm popping those P's. It's P as in punt.
Oh, and no, you said it perfectly.
I know.
Like, you enunciated it well. I was just like, ooh, that one's a tough word that's very
Yeah.
easily close to something else. Okay.
But yeah, so I had a bunch of research on it, and then when I was trying to edit my notes, I was looking, and one paragraph said, oh yeah, historians, like, can't agree where, like, this lost... It's kind of like the lost Atlantis of, like, Africa, but it had to do with Egypt. And because, like, Egyptians wrote about it, but it actually was in Africa, and or supposedly. And so they're like, yeah, they can't agree on where it was located or whatever. And then the next source I looked at was like, yeah, historians agree that it was on this lake or, like, beside this river at this exact point. And I was like, well, fuck, like, really? Okay, so is it lost or is it not lost? And then I was like, whatever, I'm just not gonna cover it, because I was like, I'm not gonna go through this whole thing about the city being lost and people don't know anything about it, blah, 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 blah. But here's where it was located definitively, like...
Oh, really? Yeah. No, I find that I came across stuff like that, like differing
Yeah.
opinions, because the stuff is so old that we only think we kind of understand it. And then
Yeah.
there's definitely, like, there's Egyptologists who completely disagree with one another. Like,
Yeah.
usually respectfully so, but
Yeah.
so
So if
like, well, looking at this, I interpret it this way, and it's like, well, that's totally believable. But, like, you're so... Okay, that's... Blah, blah.
Yeah.
I love lost cities, and there's, you know, there's a little bit of that in mine, so
Yeah.
that's cool. I would like to hear about it.
I don't have it in my notes anymore, but if you...
Damn.
I have some other stuff, but if you do want to listen or learn about Punt, it was kind of cool. There's lots of, like, pictures on it and stuff that they have, like, hieroglyphs and paintings about it and stuff from, like, different
Cool.
countries. Apparently it
Maybe
was a
we
super
could-
rich, like, trading post.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say that maybe we could do a Patreon deep dive.
We could, yeah. Maybe.
Sweet. Well, do you want to go first?
I can, yeah. So I have some, like,
Yeah.
funner sections because I was so dark and sad last week. So
Nice. Let's bring it up a notch.
yeah. So I
Oh,
had
that's cool.
a bit more fun researching this. It wasn't like child gets murdered or anything. I'll bring that back next week, I promise. This week,
Probably just some slaves when they, like,
Yeah.
lay down with the pharaohs. They were the only ones, but they, like, all went willingly from most things we we tombs we find and stuff. They're
Yeah.
just like, yeah, sure, I'll go to the afterlife with you. No
Right?
biggie.
So my first part, if you remember back in the Germany episode, you played a little true or false with me. Well, I have some fact or fiction for you.
No, revenge.
Yeah. So
Nice.
these I got directly. This is like verbatim. I didn't even bother retyping this. The
Yeah,
little like
okay.
answers it does. But so this is a game of fact or fiction from explore.berkshiremuseum.org. So
Ah,
Yeah.
explore Berkshire. I don't know.
yeah. The first one is Egyptian hieroglyphs were the first written language. Is that fact or fiction?
Fiction.
You're right.
Yay! I was like, we don't even frickin' agree how old Egypt things are.
Right?
Some of them. Okay.
So the write-up they have says that while Egyptian hieroglyphs are believed to be among the earliest written languages, archaeological evidence suggests that it was not the first. The oldest known written language is Sumerian, which I've heard of before.
Ooh.
And our earliest
Yeah.
evidence of this is the Kish tablet, which has been dated to the early 2nd millennium BCE, which I had to look up what that meant, and it means before current era or before common era. So
I think it's an alternative to just BC, yeah. If it's
Yeah.
non-religious sounding or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. So the earliest evidence of the Egyptian language dates to so that's about 35,000 or 3,500 to 3,100 BCE. The first Egyptian
Wow.
language dates back to about 2690 BCE and was found on a tomb wall, so that's not surprising. Written on papyrus carved into wood or stone and used to decorate utilitarian and sacred objects, Egyptian hieroglyphs remained in use for nearly 4,000 years.
That's a long time.
Yeah. The ancient
crap.
Egyptians believed that the god, some pronunciations differ. People say it as either Toth or Thoth.
Oh, yes. I heard it. I
Yeah.
heard at least one of those. I've heard Thoth, I think.
Yeah.
Blah, that's hard to say.
Yeah, it is. When I was
Oh,
looking
shit.
up pronunciation, the source I had was somebody that said that the safest way is pronounced Thouth.
Oh, for God's sake.
Throw in a W.
No, that's not coming out of my mouth. No way.
So they believe, so the
Oh,
ancient
God.
Egyptians believed that the god Thoth, I'm gonna say, had invented writing. Thoth was an important god in the Egyptian pantheon and was also the god of magic, wisdom, and the moon.
Okay. Yes. And the god of writing? Did you say that?
I found a source that had like a bigger list for him. This one says magic, wisdom, and the moon.
Yeah, I think he comes up in mine. We'll probably talk about him again.
Perfect.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I thought this was fun because it has little write-ups. I'm like, I learned quite a bit in this fact or fiction.
This was a really fun episode to research.
It was. So, the next one. Are you ready?
No. Yes.
The Egyptians invented the 365-day calendar. Fact or fiction?
Fiction?
It's fact.
Oh, god damn them. I know, like, the Mayans used it, too, in their construction of things. I don't know.
Oh, the Mayans will be a whole nother episode. I love the Mayans.
Oh my
It's
god,
one
the
of my-
Mayans will be another episode. We
It's
need
one
to
of my
do that.
favorite things ever. Yeah, I love
Why
the
have we not
Mayans.
done a Mayans episode?
Right?
Sorry.
So, their little blurb from this website, again, verbatim, in air quotes. Because Kelsey's lazy.
Drink every time you say verbatim. Oh my god, no.
I'm drinking no matter what, so. It says the ancient Egyptians were skilled astronomers who gathered and analyzed information about the universe without the aid of modern tools like telescopes or calculators. By recording the annual appearance of the star Sirius, they devised a 365-day calendar, with 12 months of 30 days each, and an extra 5-day festive days at the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but the aliens helped them with that. I think that's a very point we have to bring up so many times.
Says, like many calendar makers throughout history, they did not initially account for the fraction of a day it takes Earth to complete its orbit around the sun, and over time the calendar shifted. The Macedonian pharaoh, and this I had to look up the pronunciation because it was a doozy. So the Macedonian pharaoh Ptolemy the Third Euergetes.
Huge urges.
Yeah.
No.
284 to 222 BCE corrected this by adding an extra day every 4 years, like our modern leap year. So he corrected it.
Which is crazy because it's like, even without that, you're still figuring it down to like, if not the decimal point.
Yeah.
To the exact number.
Without a calculator.
Just by looking at Sirius in the sky. It's like, what the fuck? Okay, sure. No.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm probably going to talk about this in my segment too, but I ended up reading kind of as part of my research a bit, but it's not focused on Egypt exactly, but it's on the ancient alien theory. It's a book by one of the guys who's featured on that show, Eric von Däniken. It's called Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah.
It's all about all the ancient symbols that oh my god. He talks about Egypt comes up a lot in that theory, the ancient alien theory.
Yeah.
Because it's like, how the fuck? Anyway.
So the next one is the ancient Egyptians were the first to domesticate cats. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
You're correct. You're doing good.
Sorry. Because, okay, I think I might know why. I heard...
This one didn't have a whole bunch. It just said all our modern house cats descend from a single species of Middle Eastern wildcat. And the earliest archaeological evidence of cat domestication is a 9,500-year-old grave site discovered in Cyprus, where a person was buried alongside their feline companion. A similar find in a burial mound in Egypt dates to around 6,000 years ago. Recent genetic analysis suggests that domestication began much earlier than that, up to 12,000 years ago. That's a really long time. It says wild cats were likely slowly domesticated in Egypt and elsewhere in the Middle East as they hunted vermin and vermin in agricultural areas, aiding farmers who in turn provided food and protection from larger predators. Over time, specialized breeding programs emphasized certain traits, and cats became family pets that commonly appeared in tomb paintings and entombed with their human companions. And I tried to look up the pronunciation of this, but it says the Egyptian word for cat is... It just said mew, but it's spelled M-I-U or M-I-U-T.
M-I-U. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's a character that Rain is obsessed with, my daughter.
Yeah.
Likes a character called Mew in a...
Yeah.
It's like in an anime.
I think I've heard of that one before.
Okay.
But their Egyptian word, it just translates to the one who mews. Which is so cute.
Oh my god. Adorable.
Right? It's so cute.
Okay, because I was gonna say, what I heard, they featured it on Night Classy. One of them covered the domestication of cats, and what I gleaned out of it was that cats really decided that they would mutually benefit from us giving them food and stuff, and they were like, sure, we'll let you think you're domesticating us.
I love it.
They're cats. They do whatever the hell they want.
That's such a cat thing. We'll let you.
Yeah. And then I'm sure we started to breed out whatever traits and do things after that, but it was we're letting you domesticate it. Exactly. It's awesome.
The next one kind of goes along with this. I'm pretty sure anybody in the world is going to get it right. The ancient Egyptians were cat lovers.
Oh, that's the fact or fiction?
Yeah. It kind of goes with...
fact.
Yeah, right?
Okay.
Like, I feel like anybody would get that one, because it's like, yeah.
They're like, we gotta throw a fact in here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Their little thing says the ancient Egyptians valued all animals and associated many with their gods and goddesses, but cats were particularly appreciated for their intelligence, hunting skills, and companionship. Cats were associated with... Yeah. Cats were associated with several powerful deities, including the lion-headed goddess so bad at these pronunciations, even when I look them up.
Just gives up.
Bastet. That one messed me up because it's Bastet.
No idea.
Goddess of the home, domesticity, and fertility. And some Egyptologists believe that cats themselves were worshipped as demigods, but others disagree. Either way, Egyptians' love for their cats was well known in the ancient world. There were strict penalties for anyone who harmed or smuggled cats. Hundreds of thousands of cats were mummified, both as family, beloved pets, humans wanted to join them in the afterlife, and as sacrificial offerings.
Hey.
Yeah.
They loved them a little too much.
Yeah. The Greek historian Herodotus?
Oh, right. I have to say his name in mine too. Herodotus?
Yeah, that's what the internet said. Herodotus.
Such a weird one.
He lived in the 5th century BCE, but this article said he was not always the most reliable source. But he shared...
Oh, no.
Yeah, he shared...
Harry! How dare you tell lies?
Right? He shared a story about Egyptian battle with the Persians in 525 BCE, when the Persian king Cambyses II allegedly drove a pack of angry cats ahead of his army, and the Egyptians supposedly surrendered rather than offend Bastet by harming the cats to get to the enemy. So
what?
Yeah.
Oh
so
God.
Apparently when they get that whole joke about it's like herding cats, well, apparently this Persian king, Cambyses II, apparently mastered it. So
a herd of hangry cats.
Yeah.
Just clawing and scratching and screaming and bristling.
Right?
Oh my God. Yeah, that would be a dangerous task. That's insane. Okay.
And then the next one we've touched on, but both of us is so it may go against what you have, but this source says fact or fiction, slaves, and then in quotes, or aliens built the pyramids.
No. Fact! It's like /slaves/aliens.
Yeah.
Alien slaves.
Aliens.
Oh my God.
So this one says fiction. And it says Herodotus wrote that the pyramids in Giza were built by slaves, but the archaeological evidence doesn't support his claim. The laborers who performed the backbreaking work in hot summer temperatures were citizens and skilled craftsmen who spent part of each year working for the government with the aid of simple machines like ramps and levers and human ingenuity. At Giza, builders were buried next to the pharaoh's pyramid, a great honor, and archaeological evidence suggests that they were well fed with diets consisting of beef, sheep, and goat meat. The technological progression of pyramid construction developed over centuries of trial and error by Egyptian architects and builders. It did not happen spontaneously with extraterrestrial influence. I'm sorry.
Spontaneously.
Yeah. Over the millennia, many have questioned how incredible architectural achievements like the Great Pyramids were possibly built without modern machinery or alien intervention. And modern scientists have some answers. For example...
Oh, do they now?
Right? For example, physicists inspired by a 1900 BCE wall painting in the tomb of Gigi Hadi Hotep. That's what the internet said at the Day El Bersha. Yeah, Day El Bersha. tested the idea of wetting sand to reduce friction and found that pulling heavy objects on a sledge became much more manageable. I can't speak today, apparently. With anything. Even English words.
Okay, so wait, what is he saying? That it's why is it more
Yeah, they
manageable?
built kind of like a sledge, so like a sled. So they would put the object on a sled and then they would wet the sled or wet the ground, like the sand and everything underneath them, so it made it easier to pull. There's like a I do have it, it'll be on the website. There's a cave picture, the one he talks about from 1900 BCE, that's a wall painting, and they have it of them moving a huge statue
on a sled.
Yeah, it's on a sled with them
made of
watering
wood
the ground. Yeah,
from all those trees you see all over the desert,
right? Yeah,
of Egypt. All those trees. Oh my god. Okay.
The next two also kind of go together. But the Egyptians mummified the dead so they could move on to the afterlife. Fact or fiction?
Oh my god, I could rant so easily about any of this right now. I'm sorry. Okay, so fact. They mummified the dead to give them to their next life.
In the ancient Egyptian religion, the afterlife was believed to be the continuation of the earthly life, so it was important for people's remains to be preserved. Mummification is a process used to preserve the body of a human or animal to prevent decomposition. Around 3500 BCE, people began preserving relatives by burying them in the hot, dry desert sand. Over time, new procedures were developed involving ceremonies, prayers and incantations, and different incense. All Egyptians who could afford it were mummified. Millions were created over more than 3,000 years of the practice in Egypt.
And it should be noted they mummified their earthly bodies, which you wouldn't think you would need your earthly body if your soul is going to Soul Land or, where it can be born into another body or what have you. It's almost like they're preserving their earthly bodies for someone that said they were coming back years in the future.
Oh, they have... My next thing explains why.
Explains why. Oh god.
Yeah, why they mummified their bodies. So it says...
I'd like to hear this theory, yes.
Yeah. Fact or fiction, mummies can come back to life.
Oh my god.
I know some of these were so stupid, and then the explanation was like, well, I want to talk about the explanation, so I'm going to keep the stupid question in.
But mummies can get back to life.
Yeah.
Well, if we learned anything from the movies,
The Mummy.
Yeah. Only the one with Brendan Fraser, because the other one with the Scientologist is not worth speaking of.
And I have seen them all, and I agree.
The Rock. Anyway, okay. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Fiction. I'm so sorry. I can't even focus. I'm getting all riled up. Okay.
So it says once a person has been embalmed, they can't come back to life in our world, except in books or movies.
No. Darn.
Damn it. However, the ancient Egyptians did believe that their mummified relatives could be reanimated in the afterlife. The Ba, B-A, a spiritual manifestation of the individual's personality, depicted as a human-headed bird, was believed to, quote, go forth by day and later return to the body. It was part of the Egyptians...
Birdman.
Yeah. Part of the Egyptians' complex system of beliefs about the afterlife. An important part of the mummification process was the opening of mouth ceremony, which allowed the Ba to be released from the body so that it might reunite with the deceased individual's Ka, or life force. I looked these up and it was actually pretty cool, I guess. So
yeah,
the Ba is like a person, specifically like personality, so like who they were as a person, and then the person's Ka is like what made their body like a living thing and didn't include a personality. So it was just the things like that they ate, they drank, slept, could walk, stuff like that. That's what the Ka is, and then the Ba is like what made that person an individual person. So that's why they were mummified, because I think it was the Ba would leave the tomb every night. That's the person's personality. And then the Ka, the reason why they would, like, leave gifts and offerings of, like, food and stuff in some tombs was for the Ka, which was the life force. And then they would eat and stuff. And then if at a certain point, like, you couldn't leave food or there wasn't enough food, you would, on the tomb walls, you would paint pictures or leave, like, wooden things of food, like fake food. And the Ka would be able to, like...
my favorite childhood toy.
Yeah. And then the Ka, like, they understood that it obviously wouldn't physically eat it, but that it would absorb, like, the essence of the food without having to eat it. So they weren't thinking that, ooh, I'm gonna show up tomorrow morning and the food's gonna be eaten. They thought a person's Ka was gonna absorb the nutrients it needed out of the food.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's complex.
Yeah, it's kind of cool if you, like, look it up. When I was, like, looking these up, I found a little, like, YouTube channel, Voices of Ancient Egypt. Yeah, it was a little YouTube channel, and they have, like, some animated videos they did that explain, like, the Ba and Ka. It tells you how to learn, like, hieroglyphs, and they teach you, like, one hieroglyph symbol a day kind of thing, and, like, how to draw it and what it means and the history of it. Yeah, it was kind of cute.
I love that. I mean, I think hieroglyphics, they were like probably the first, I was thinking about this the other day, probably the first cryptic thing I was probably interested in.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, they're good for children, like ancient Egypt. You can be like, here, this is kind of like history, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, oh, sorry, I was say also, it's like, I was reading in that book I mentioned that, like, it's not only in Egypt that people were found mummified. They've also been found in, like, there's, like, some really, really cold places, like in, like, an iced cave. Some people were, I cannot remember the exact countries right now. There was a few places, but, like, yeah, people were found basically frozen with some of their things to be presumably taken with them to the afterlife. Like, materials, like fine materials, cloths and weird different things. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, probably in, like, Iceland and stuff.
Could have been, or maybe it was maybe in, like, the maybe Nepal. I don't know. I can't remember right now. But oh, it's so fascinating.
Yeah, I feel like I heard about is it the Iceman or whatever? Everybody always talked about that dude that they thought that got murdered, and he was, like, super old or something, and he was frozen.
Yeah, they found him in, like, a block of ice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that kind of shit. You gotta love a good frozen body or mummified body. It's always mysterious.
Right?
Oh, that's a great episode topic.
Mummified bodies.
Found corpses.
Found corpses. Oh, shit. That's like every true crime story where the body's just dumped in a random spot. Found corpse. Thought it was a mannequin.
Ancient corpses.
Ancient
I don't know.
Corpses. Old as fuck.
I'll circle back to it when I'm done brainstorming it.
The next one. Egyptians believed the brain was unimportant. Fact or fiction?
They believed the brain was unimportant?
Yeah.
I want to say that is fiction, and hopefully it's not a trick.
It's fact.
Ugh, fine. Why ancient Egypt? No.
The Egyptians were curious about what modern observers would call neuroscience. They were the first to explore and describe the cerebral cortex, but they believed the heart controlled thoughts and emotions, not the brain. They carefully removed and preserved the heart and other organs during the mummification process, but the brain was just scooped out through the nasal cavity and often discarded.
Everyone knows about the nose scooping. I feel like that's the first thing they teach you when you learn about ancient Egypt. And then they took a hook. You're like, no!
And they just shimmied it around and made a soup. Yeah. It's really cool, though, but Canopic jars were what was used to hold the viscera, I hate that word, or internal organs.
You would have hated being like a mortician or something, eh? You gotta like use all the bodily fluid words.
Yeah.
Bile, viscera.
It doesn't creep me out, it's the words that gross me out. Viscera.
You're like, the goo stuff? Yep, that stuff right there. Mm-hmm.
The yellow goo, the brown goo.
Okay, I'm sorry. Is it obvious that I listened to something about morticians the other day? Because it was interesting.
My friend, when we were in high school, she, in, like, health class, or whatever class you take, the, like, whatever that quiz is that's supposed to tell you what you should do with your life.
Oh God, yeah, it's like...
She took it and it told her she should be a mortician. It was my favorite thing ever.
That is what Ressa wanted to be.
Wow.
Like, or, yeah, mortician? Funeral director? Yeah. Let us know, Ressa. But anyway, it's harder to... She definitely wanted to drive a hearse. I remember that much.
Oh, that's all I care about, too. As soon as I watched the first episode of 6 Feet Under and saw somebody finally living the best life and driving a hearse to high school, I was like, that should have been me!
Oh, the Claire or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good show. It's sitting on our coffee table because I'm going to get Pat to watch it with me. He's never seen it.
I'm sad they stopped doing their little infomercials at the beginning, or in between episode breaks when they had their own commercials.
I do recall that.
Yeah, they were the best.
Okay, they did something like that on WandaVision too. They had little commercials, and it was like, yeah, clues, Easter eggs.
They'd be like, dead body stuff. Makeup. And they'd be like, make your loved one look as fresh as they did the day before they died. And you're like, oh God, that was so bad.
Must be weird being a mortician.
Yeah. Anyway, so canopic or canopic jars, they were used to hold the viscera or internal organs into the afterlife. If you look up canopic jars, some of them are very detailed and are made to look like they're different gods. So some of them have like heads of like monkeys, some of them have heads of like birds and stuff. They're very cool.
Right. Yeah, they look cool. Sorry.
The next one is fact or fiction. People ate mummies.
Fact or fiction? People ate?
Yeah.
Num 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 num.
Yeah, they consumed them. They ate them all up.
Fact. Yes,
Yeah,
I believe
you're right.
so.
So from the 12th century CE in Europe until the late 18th century, mummia, which was powdered human mummy, was widely considered a medical ingredient and was commonly consumed.
I had heard that for some weird reason.
I had too.
I'm full of useless knowledge. No.
I had too.
It's just those weird things that stick with you where you're like, that's gross, never gonna forget it.
Yeah.
Oh, people eat their placentas? Great, that's stuck in my head now. Because they do that too. Anyway, sorry, no offense if anybody does it, because if it gives you great skin, like, all the power to you. That's awesome.
Yeah. The next one I feel like anybody could get. I don't know why it was included in the list, but it says men and women wore makeup in ancient Egypt. Fact or fiction?
If it's not fact, then everything TV has taught us is a lie.
Yeah, right? That great winged eyeliner. Come on. Ancient Egyptian, it's correct, yeah. Ancient Egyptians used a black paint called kohl and green malachite powder as eye makeup, which may have helped protect their eyes from the sun.
Okay.
That's why I left that in there, because I didn't know about it protecting their eyes from the sun.
Oh, like because the football players put those on their cheeks, the black lines. I think that reduces glare also, perhaps. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. I don't know football.
I feel like I heard that and then immediately forgot it and just was like, why the fuck did they do that again? It's so weird.
File it under football fact.
Yeah.
Never to be seen again in that dusty corner of your mind.
Right.
Oh.
The last fact or fiction is, you may talk about it, I don't know, but Napoleon's army shot off the Sphinx's nose. Fact or fiction?
Oh, I did not ever hear that.
Oh, really?
That is, I believe, fiction from what I read.
You're right. It says, well,
I read the true story, I guess.
Right? Well, Napoleon did invade and lead a campaign in Egypt in 1798 to 1799. It was not a cannonball that broke off the notorious nose, which was over 3 feet long. That's weird.
3-foot nose.
Yeah, in fact, this had happened long before the French general's visit. 18th century sketches show the massive monument missing its nose before Napoleon was even born. So they just fully debunked that. It happened before he was born. According to the 15th century CE Egyptian historian, I'm not even going to try and pronounce his name, I'm sorry. He's
Dude Guyington.
Yeah, Dude Guyington is a Sufi Muslim man. It's all more names I can't pronounce, I'm sorry. And he defaced the Sphinx in 1378. That was super early. In an act of iconalism. So he just wanted to vandalize it.
In what year?
In 1378 CE.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you might have said 18. Okay. Woof. That's
and
old.
he was executed for vandalism. The forces of erosion likely played a role in its demise, and even without the Sphinx, even without its nose, the Sphinx is huge at 241 feet long and 66 feet high.
It's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Yes. And we will get to it.
You did really good. You got one wrong out of I don't know how many. I don't feel like counting.
That one was, it was written interesting. Maybe it was written a little easier than the one I played, because some of those were like, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's a free one.
I was like, oh, I liked these. I was like, there was a couple things I didn't know before, or most of it I didn't know before. So I was like, oh, that's gonna be fun. It's my payback. So my next little bit, before I get to an actual thing about Egypt, I guess I mainly researched.
I mainly researched. And then I guessed a few. No, I'm just kidding.
I found a little thing when I was looking up mysteries and stuff about Egypt. I found a thing that says, or outlined ways crimes were investigated and solved in ancient Egypt. Ooh. So this kind of goes out to the true crime aspect of it, but
shout out to our other episodes. We see you.
Yeah. So this was from listverse.com.
Ooh.
Yeah.
She's a list bitch today. Sorry.
Yeah.
I heard that on another show.
Anyway. So this
question mark.
I'm trying to see. Oh, I just omitted the ones or a couple of them. I think I may have retyped these. I don't know. I can't remember at this point.
Okay.
But it says Egyptians were serious about solving crime and kept very detailed records about it. Because of this, we know some of their methods from over 3,000 years ago. Most of the police force were posted guards who watched cities, tombs, and markets in order to deter crime from happening in the first place. My favorite thing, and the reason I wanted to talk about this, was that most guards had a trained animal with them, and most of the time it was a dog. So that's similar to what we have now. But...
oh, cute.
Yeah. But sometimes the guards had, can you guess it, a trained monkey. They had attack monkeys.
I thought you were going to say a cat, but they can't be trained. Yeah. But monkeys can be trained?
Right? So, ancient Egyptian police officers and guards had attack monkeys, which is my favorite thing ever. My new favorite thing about Egypt is attack monkeys. The monkeys wore leashes. They wore leashes and were trained to attack and tackle criminals by pulling them by their ankles or legs to the ground. And then they would sit or hold the person in place until the guard got there, much like attack dogs do today.
Throwing poop at them.
Right? But attack monkeys. There's actually a picture the article had, and I'll put it on the website, and it's actually a painting in a tomb of an attack monkey. Pulling at somebody's leg. God. It's great.
Our animal references are getting better and better, because first we had Dirk the penguin, which I just looked up today after me and my brother were talking about it. He was damn cute, I have to admit.
Adorable. Of course they kidnapped him for pictures.
He's a fairy penguin? I was like, what does that mean? But they're an adorable, like, all black. Well, they looked pretty much all...
Yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, and then we had... My brother was, like, texting me because he was like, oh my god, toad plows sound adorable. And I was like, oh my god, I forgot about toad plows already.
Right? I just don't understand how they stay in the ground if something's happening. It's such a jerky movement. I don't understand how the plow would stay in the ground. But I too need to. I need to see attack monkeys in real life, and I need to see toad plows in real life.
Exactly.
Bucket list items. I need it before I die. Attack monkey, toad plow.
Not your average animal list. Right. Animal tourism.
Yeah. Oh
my god.
So this goes on. It says Egyptian courts relied on witnesses to solve crimes, so they actually made serious penalties for failing to even report a crime. So if you had information about a crime and you didn't report it, it carried a huge sentence. So when Ramses III was assassinated, the police rounded up the people responsible for it, as well as all their servants who may have even just overheard the conspiracy. And any failure to report could be punished by having your ears cut off, and the punishments often caused people to report anything that they might know.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Also, that reminds me of see something, say something, but then, like, that's also been proven to be sometimes overused in racist ways.
Oh, yeah.
Just sure. Like, yeah, report whoever they don't like or don't like the look of, let's say.
Yeah. When I was working at West Edmonton Mall, and it was right after ISIS had, like, said that they were going to attack West Edmonton Mall. And
Yeah,
it was the next day, and, like, people were calling in being like, ooh, I can't believe you guys are open, are you guys scared? And then some poor kid, because I think it was, like, a school day or something, some poor kid had gone to West Edmonton Mall in the food court during his lunch break, and left his backpack in the food court abandoned for, like, an hour before somebody noticed. It was the day after ISIS declared that West Edmonton Mall should get attacked. So next thing you know, the bomb squad is coordinating off a quarter of the mall, because some kid, like, left their backpack in a food court. So for 3.5 hours, like, we were all locked in, like, pretty much in, like, the stores and could barely leave. Nobody knew what was going on. They had certain entrances to the mall blocked off. Yeah.
Oh my god, what a fiasco.
And I remember we just got, like, they just came around after and was like, yeah, it was just a kid's backpack. We returned it to them. I was like, oh my god.
Took every precaution, and now, well, they're safe and sorry. But
yeah, I'm like, nobody would have sweated, like, over anything if it had happened 3 days before that. But because ISIS had just declared they should attack us. Yeah. Anyway.
Of course.
So it says Egypt had crime scene investigators. They had their own Horatio, just whipping off his sunglasses.
But their sunglasses was their eyeliner, so he's like rubbing off his eyeliner.
Yeah, because it would protect your eyes. So they had crime scene investigators who looked into witness statements. They interviewed suspects and the witnesses. They investigated the scene and even held reenactments to go over theories. So they found very involved.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Reenactments.
I wasn't expecting
watching those.
That, like, through Egypt. But they also kept extremely detailed records of past accusations and used this to monitor a person's criminal history if they had repeat offenses. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Egypt sounds like very much like what we do right now. But 4,000
yeah, they got a
years
canine
ago,
unit, they got the
Mummies,
investigators, they got all the teams.
Obviously, we have to talk about the bad. So, unfortunately, they also used horrible methods to get information sometimes, like beating the suspects. Including,
corruption.
yeah, gotta talk about the corruption.
Well, that hasn't changed. There's still some of that.
Yeah. They also beat the suspect's family members and even, which I thought was stupid, even witnesses for information. So they're just beating up everybody, I guess. Confessions.
Not a great look.
Yeah. Confessions given after beatings were investigated and compared to the evidence to try and stop false confessions. You know, after you beat somebody. The consequences for lying were often worse than committing the crime in the first place. So witnesses were often told what punishment they would receive if they were caught lying. And these were made up on the spot by the investigator based on how bad the crime was and whether the person was wealthy or poor.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That should be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
No.
Examples include 100 blows, their nose or ear being cut off, or being stretched on the rack. So, that sounds fun.
Oh, no. Yeah. Medieval torture methods.
Yeah, that's for the witnesses. And they were they were told what the punishment was going to be if they lied before they gave their statement, and they actually had to as part of their statement, they had to read out what their punishment was that they had agreed to was going to be should they be found lying. Yeah.
But then weren't they also punished if they saw something and didn't say something? It's
Right?
just like, what
Yeah.
can I do?
Egypt dealt with its share of corruption, bribery among police and investigators, and lowering of punishments for money. And once a suspect was proven innocent, their record was not necessarily cleared, and they remained labeled as a criminal simply because they were accused of a crime. Because they believed that you had to be a kind of a skeevy person to even be accused of a crime in the first place. That's why they didn't clean your record after. Yeah.
That's similar to what we call trial by media today.
Yes, exactly.
That's all anyone remembers once you've been accused. Oh,
Right?
you were accused. Oh, wait, you were innocent? Oh, I didn't hear about that part.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So this was so crazy, but sometime in 1000 BC, so this is after they were doing that, they stopped their whole system of law. So they stopped all that. They stopped the interviewing, they stopped investigating, and they started just letting a statute decide.
Okay, then.
Right?
That's
So
a full 180.
right? They have a super advanced system, and they're like, nah, we're gonna let some stone decide.
Did a full 180.
It should go shouldn't it go the opposite? Shouldn't you go from letting a stone decide to having investigators and stuff?
Right?
So
regressing.
yeah, they're regressing hard. So priests of Amun took over most of the country at this time, and they simply asked this statue questions based on how it moved forward for yes or backward for no. They would get answers. And so they'd ask it yes or no questions. But what the public didn't know is that there were men who were placed inside or beside the statue who would push it forward or pull it back. So they controlled its movement.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's just an illusion of a fair trial.
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Or no, they're not even trying to make it look like fair.
No. I just can't believe, like you said, I can't believe they just regressed so hard from having an advanced system of attack monkeys and Horatios investigating to freaking asking a pillar yes or no. Yeah.
They just said fuck it and gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's a little bit about Egypt. I had fun looking that up.
Just a bit. That was cool.
But my thing I actually looked up, so it's not necessarily a curse. It's not, I guess, anything sinister. But it is kind of a mystery.
Okay.
And this is called the Zagreb, I think that's right. It's the name of the mummy, and I didn't even look up the pronunciation. Go me.
Well, that mummy's gonna come for you.
Yeah.
Coming for you.
So, yeah, this mummy is actually pretty cool. So, it's housed in the Archaeological Museum at Zagreb and is in a collection of Egyptian artifacts along with a mummy, with an interesting history. So the mummy was received wrapped in a cloth with like text on it, like words and symbols. And the text turned out to be a manuscript and the longest preserved text of the Etruscan language, a language used by the ancient people living in Etruria, Italy. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So this mummy in Egypt was wrapped in like this text, like linen text from Italy. So
how did it get there?
Yeah. As well as the only remaining Etruscan text with literary characteristics, so like that you can still read, and only preserved sample of a linen book from the old ages. Yeah. So it's like the oldest thing, I guess. I don't know.
It's like the Shroud of Turin, but they like found it in... No, it's not. That's like... They think that was from Jesus. I shouldn't. Moving on.
The combination of the mummy and the wrapping is unusual because the linen book is from Etruria, Italy, while the mummification process was Egyptian. The linen linen has approximately, oh my god, I should have put on 11,130 words or characters on it, and it's cut into 5 strips of fabric. Each strip is about like 35 centimeters tall, and then the total length of all 5 strips together is 340 centimeters. And it's dated at approximately 250 BC. So it's super
250 BC. And when they found it, it's still in Egypt. Right?
It actually has an interesting history. It was donated to the museum. Yeah.
Oh.
We'll get to it. So this starts in the this is the mummy's history to getting to the museum. So in 1848, Mihailo Beric, a Croatian official in the Hungarian Royal Chancellery, I don't know. He resigned his position and began traveling. He went to Egypt, where he purchased a sarcophagus, as one does, containing a female mummy as a souvenir.
Oh, yeah. Lifestyles of the rich and the famous, eh?
Totally.
That's what I get for souvenirs, too.
Yeah, a sarcophagus with a mummy.
And it's on a keychain. Yeah.
When he returned to Vienna, he unwrapped the mummy and displayed her upright in his sitting room. Oh, great.
What?
Isn't that creepy?
He just opened it right the fuck up?
Yeah, and then unwrapped it. He unwrapped it too. He stored the... So he displayed...
dummy, you gotta keep it in the box if you want it to be worth anything.
So he unwrapped the mummy, displayed her in his sitting room, and then stored the, like, wrapping, so the linen, in a glass display case, like, near the mummy, I guess.
What?
And, yeah. He's crazy.
So she's just a naked mummy?
Well, it's like mummified. You can't see anything. It looks like a raisin with facial features. I'm not asking for like porn reasons.
But it's like, dude, what is wrong with you? You just like, you're just like touching everything. You're not. That's so disrespectful and wrong on so many like levels.
So, Beric, he died in 1859. Again, this was fucking old. And his brother, who was a priest, he received the mummy and the wrappings in with, like, I guess his stuff when his brother died. And he donated them at that time to the State Institute of Croatia, Slovenia, and Dalmatia.
Are you asking me? Like the Dalmatian coast? Yeah, that's in Croatia.
It just says Dalmatia. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sounds about right.
So the State Institute of that is now known as the Archaeological Museum of Zagreb. And at the time...
Oh, that's why Zagreb sounded familiar. Because it's in Croatia. I'm a dummy. Oh. I'll get there eventually.
It's my segment, and I barely got there.
I was like, oh, yes, I know. I've heard of this place.
I spent too much time trying to, like, Google attack monkeys, and hieroglyphs of cats. Like,
no, but it is pretty beautiful, like coastline, and I hear there's some nice all-inclusives you can do in Croatia.
Okay.
Also, didn't they film some of Game of Thrones? I don't know. I'm on a tangent.
I'm sure they went everywhere.
Oh, cool.
So throughout the entire like life of the time that like Barrick and his brother, before he donated to the museum, they were unaware actually that like the wrappings had any text on them. It's like really faint. You can barely see it. So the mummy arrived at the museum in sometime in July of 1862. So still super early. And it was in a shipment from Vienna along with a damaged Book of the Dead from the mummy and her husband. So it came with a Book of the Dead. So we know who they are, who it is.
Sorry. It sounds like it comes with a nice accessory. It's a Book of the Dead.
Yeah. A free Book of the Dead.
Like when you get a Barbie and she like came with a few different outfits.
Right. She comes with a convertible.
Yeah.
So it came with the Book of the Dead for the mummy along with her husband. It came with some balm and remains from a funeral wreath of leaves and flowers, along with fragments of wood and stucco from the sarcophagus.
Sorry, what was before the wreath?
Balm. Like balm used in the
like,
mummification process. Yeah.
Like, as in like lip balm or whatever. I was like, because I didn't know what spelling it. Anyway, I'm dumb
it's such
today.
A weird word.
I'm like, a bomb? It's gonna explode.
Oh, yeah. It sounds like that, but totally different.
I am like sometimes just so stupid when it comes to like context. I don't know why. Okay.
So it also came with fragments of wood and stucco from the sarcophagus and blue-green beads that were on the mummy and the head of...
Ooh.
And it also came with an added bonus of the head of a mummified cat. I could not find any pictures of that.
And she tried. Okay. No.
Well, like in the pictures, I thought like they'd have pictures of the whole collection of everything it came with, but there's none. Yeah.
Oh.
So for the first 10 years, the museum assumed that the text on the linen was just Egyptian hieroglyphs. For 10 years, the museum assumed this.
I mean, it's kind of logical.
Yeah,
right?
Until the Egyptologist who was at the museum spoke to an explorer who believed it was an Arabic translation of the Book of the Dead.
Oh.
Yeah, so he thought it was like, in the Book of the Dead that came with it, he thought it was maybe just an Arabic translation of it, I guess. That was my assumption.
Maybe it looked like Arabic, yeah.
Yeah. Over the next 30 years, researchers worked around the world. So they had, like, contacted a bunch of people. They actually, like, sent the linen, like, around the world for a while. So researchers for 30 years around the world were trying to discover what language was written on the linen. And in 1891, an expert concluded that it was the Etruscan language and were able to put the wrappings in their proper order, but wasn't able to make a full translation of what it said. So a previously unknown piece of the text, linen, was also found mixed in with the remaining bandages and balm that came with the mummy. And
at least it all stayed together. Holy shit.
So since the 20th century, the linen book, they call it a book. It's not a book. It's like loose pieces of linen, like cloth. But they call it a book. It's not a book. The mummy, so since the 20th century, the linen book and mummy have undergone infrared photographs, and the linen has been able to be put through some, like, reconstruction and partially restored to, like, make it easier to read. During this time, it's also been partially translated and is believed to be a ritual calendar as it outlines many gods and dates. However, the Etruscan language is not fully understood or translatable, therefore the linen book cannot be fully translated. So they can only really pick out, like, certain words.
Okay, because it's so, like, faded and stuff that they have trouble.
The Etruscan language, they can't translate it. Like, nobody knows how to translate it properly.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Wow.
Yeah, so like they can read all of it now pretty well, but there's nobody alive that can actually translate the whole thing. They only actually know like certain words on it.
Weird. But they know it's like a language of this earth.
Yeah, so the Book of the Dead has also been partially restored, and researchers have identified the female mummy wrapped in the book as, I'm gonna butcher it all, but Nessie Hensu, along with her husband Peher Hensu, and they were from Thebes, Greece? Thebes? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It's an old place. Peher, her husband, was a divine tailor, actually, who made clothes for the statues of the Egyptian god Ammon. So he made clothes for statues. He was a divine tailor. And
tailor to the stars.
yeah, the Etruscans had the first great civilization in the Italian peninsula, and many of their customs were later adopted by the Romans.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. It remains unknown to this day why the wrappings were used for the mummy, and that perhaps it had just been like what was handy and available when the embalmers were using it. Yeah, it's like really crazy because the mummy is from Greece, the linen is from Italy, and then the language is Etruscan, and the like mummification's from Egypt.
Ah.
Right?
It's like when you get married, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue.
Yeah. Like, they just don't know how this all, like, 3 countries, like, came together for this to happen. They just don't really understand why.
Oh my god. And it might have just been something, like, laying around.
Yeah, it could have just been what was there. Like, some things said that maybe they had, like, left Italy and they were living as, like, immigrants or whatever in Egypt, and they had adopted like the custom of mummification because they could afford it,
right,
and that this is what was chosen for that reason, but really they don't know. Yeah,
crazy.
but so that's my mystery of Egypt. The only one I looked besides Punt, which like fell through. But
Punt, you're just a big no.
But yeah,
that's so
this was kind of cool. I
crazy.
saw it only on like one list, other than when like you like specifically look it up. But yeah,
I've never heard of it.
Yeah,
So
I'm like
cool.
it wasn't really on the list of like the common ones, so I was like, oh, this would be fun to talk about.
It also reminds me, so just that last part where it's like it might have just been something laying around, and it's like I remember my friend Jill one time just like writing this big long message on a like big ass roll of like, I think it was one of those industrial rolls of like toilet paper, possibly lifted from a public bathroom, and she's just like writing this long thing on this like toilet paper. Imagine she just like leaves it there, and then like thousands of years later someone's like, well, let's use this nonsense to mummify this person.
Right?
Oh my
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
That was a really good job.
Yeah, I had fun. I was like, oh, when I saw this one, I was like, oh, that's cool. And they don't have pictures of it wrapped up, but they have pictures of like the linen like cloth laid out in order, and you can like still kind of see like the characters on it. You can tell it was there.
Wow, cool. I'll have to look it up.
When I like imagine the mummy like wrapped in that, I'm just like, how would you not like? That would have looked so weird, you know, if you could have actually like seen the characters. And then it's funny that you mentioned the Tom Hanks, or not Tom Hanks. Oh my god, I disrespected Tom Hanks. Tom Cruise. I'm sorry, Tom Hanks. Tom Cruise.
Two very different Toms now.
Yeah, extremely different. When you said his like mummy movie where the mummy that comes back to life has all the writing on her, as soon as you said that I was like, oh my god, because all I could think of was this mummy wearing the linen cloths, and it probably would have looked something similar.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. 'Cause she's got like all the writing on her or something, if I remember correctly.
I don't. I'm really bad at remembering, like, what happens in movies. I have seen a lot of them. Pat owns a million movies.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, something happened. I know I saw it. I was trying to look up the picture. The female. Oh, I see the mummy. There she is, all bare and naked.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
With
She's
like
cold.
a nice like teeth bearing. She's got no lips left.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, like
okay,
you can
I
see
the
the little
linen now.
characters on the cloth when it like has like a bit closer of pictures. You can tell that it's like distinct characters. And,
But the like
symbols.
the linen is like red. It has like red stains on it. It looks weirdly like blood stained.
Kind of. I think that's probably just from the bombing process.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being in contact with her embalmed body.
Yikes.
Yeah, but it's pretty cool. I was like, oh.
Holy shit. Yeah. Well, we should take a quick break before we settle into my case. My secrets of the Sphinx. I cannot talk. What if I can't say Sphinx the entire time?
The secret of the Spanx. Okay.
That statue.
Yeah, that one that ain't got no nose no more. 'Cause of Napoleon.
Wait, didn't they put it back on? Oh.
I don't think so.
I've seen so many pictures of it the last couple days. How can I not know? And
I'm pretty sure it's not on there.
Oh, because they did some restoration? No, you're right. It doesn't look like it.
That don't look like a nose.
Anyway, okay, we'll be right back. Well, how many papers? I have a bit. I got some things.
I figured you would. And then you can counter my factor fiction random things that website had.
Oh, it's hard to talk about ancient Egypt without talking about theories.
Yeah, I like the alien theory myself.
Just because, but I don't know. I think I get to it a little bit.
I'm sure you do.
Oh man, yeah, still learning things, because I was still finishing up the book, and like I said, it comes up all the time, everywhere, everything.
Yeah.
There's so many videos on like Smithsonian. I'm a Smith stoner. Smithsonian. Anyway. Okay. The Sphinx. Oh my god.
The Sphinx. Yeah.
The Sphinx. What's wrong with me? Okay. I didn't realize it. I hated saying this word until now.
It's a weird word.
I know, it's like sphere.
Yeah.
You gotta have, it's a bunch of S noises. Way too close together. Alright, what? My whistle. Yeah, Secrets of the Sphinx, I called it. Because everybody else pretty much called all episodes about that.
Perfect.
Anyway. But like you said, it is huge. It is huge. She big.
I definitely want to see it. In person. I think it would be crazy.
Oh, yes. Someday, right? Yeah. 7 Wonders of the World for a reason.
Donate to Patreon.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna do that to everything, just like outrageous. Donate to Patreon.
Oh god. Drink every time she says no. Okay. So you had some really accurate or precise measurements when you talked about its height and stuff, but I just have I think you're like 66 feet and mine is like, it is the length of a jumbo jet and as tall as a 6-story building. Because that sounds more impressive to me.
Yeah. That's like I don't visually know what 66 feet is, but
yeah, but like you can kind of picture a building. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's obviously very cool. I mean, the pyramids are cool. I could talk about an entire podcast about the pyramids, the region, whatever, the whole Giza plateau. Yeah. But the Sphinx does appear older than the pyramids.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I hit the desk. She's like,
She's so impressed. She just threw back in her chair.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's older? What?
I tried to flip the table, but I couldn't because it was a desk against a wall.
Oh my god.
No, I tried to bring my hand up that was under the desk to my face to fix my glasses. I hit the underside of the table.
Oh my god. In my, like, cubicle at work, you know.
Work.
My real job, but this is a real job too. Yeah, you get those like shelves you can add to kind of over your desk. Exactly, and then you could put little things on it and clear up your desk space. And so I put one there, but then I always put my like lunch kit underneath it sometimes, and I'll be like going to get my book out of the front pocket because it's a cute little lunch bag. It's got a little pocket.
Yeah.
Whatever. And I'm always like, bang! And everyone, I'm like, shit, sorry. Mallory's like, what are you... From across the way, they can't actually see me. They're like, what are you doing over there?
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, I never learn. Okay. So the Sphinx. That big statue. Okay, I'm done. I'm done. That's it. No. It is... Oh, it is the biggest. Here's a, what do they call it? Superlative? Whatever.
I have no idea. I'm sure if you don't know, I won't know.
Whatever, it's a word about other words. Why am I trying to sound smart? It is the biggest single stone structure. Oh my god, there's so many S's in everything.
It's my turn to sit here and laugh. I had so much trouble in my segment speaking today.
Wait till we get to the Egyptian names.
Right?
I'm crying. Okay. It's the biggest single stone statue in existence, Kelsey.
Okay. Well, that was a lot of S's.
I'm sorry.
But I am impressed. Okay. I didn't know it was a single stone.
What's wrong with me?
How on earth do you get a stone that's 6 stories high?
It's carved right out of that limestone whatever hill.
Oh, okay. I was like, do you just carve the entire country like down except for the Sphinx? Maybe that's how they built the pyramids.
With a big hole. Yeah.
Maybe that's how they built the pyramids and the Sphinx. They didn't build them up. They carved everything else down.
But like literally, it was so much carving. It was so much.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I will never understand how they did this. I will never understand how anything in Egypt was built. I can't do it.
And how we can accept that it was built that way.
Yeah, it's too old and it's still standing and all of it looks amazing and I'm like, ah!
Exactly. And next point, we can't even decide who it is supposed to depict, like who the face is supposed to be of.
Okay, I was gonna ask if you could answer that because I have no idea. I thought it was always like a cat or a lion or something.
Yeah, like because it's definitely got the lion body. Exactly.
Yeah.
The one theory is that it could be King Khafre, whose statue was found nearby. I don't know, buried as well, probably. Like, obviously from one position you stand in front of the Sphinx. It's behind. I'm just gonna call it the Spanx, like you suggested. No.
Let's just entitle this entire episode The Mysteries of the Spanx. And other Egyptian wonders.
So the head. Let's talk about the head. The head is too small, people figure. Well,
okay.
It looks too small, like for how long the body is and stuff.
I feel like, hold on, let me Google a picture of the Sphinx. I feel like I should be looking at a picture of the Sphinx for your entire segment.
It could help. Yeah, and also, because also while you're looking at it, they say that the paws look out of proportion as well.
Okay, I've always gotten the paws. Yeah. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like that one angle where you take a picture of yourself where you're like, my arm looks huge!
Yeah, right?
This is a quote I have here because I liked it, just the way they had it written in the article. If any one monument has garnered more attention in the last several decades than Egypt's Great Pyramid of Khufu, it is the Great Sphinx at Giza, probably built by his successor, Khafre, or possibly by Khufu himself. Interest in what lies beneath, within, and around the Sphinx has captured the imagination of the public, researchers, writers, theorists, mystics, and crazies alike. But this frenzy can be probably pinpointed to the predictions by Edgar Cayce, who is kind of a neat, interesting guy. He is known as the sleeping prophet because he was a clairvoyant who would go into these trances and answer questions about reincarnation, healing, dreams, the afterlife, nutrition, Atlantis, and future events.
Okay.
So yeah, he was a prophet
bunch of stuff.
guy. Yeah, from like 1800s, like in the last few hundred years sometime. He's not that old. But anyway, he had theories. So what were we saying? Edgar Cayce believed the Sphinx was built at about 10,490. Oh my God, I think it's BC. Like you said, or BCE or whatever.
Probably BCE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like 10,000.
Wow.
Like a long time ago. Anyway, I love math.
In clicking through a bunch of pictures of the Sphinx, managed to find a picture with a person standing next to it for scale. And I feel like that's why I didn't think it was as big as it was, because I had never seen a picture with a human for scale.
And they never show the angle of like where the city is in regards, like they always take pictures where the backdrop is just the desert. You don't realize it's like super close to like Cairo or whatever.
Yeah, when I was looking it up, one of the things I found when I was like looking up a few of the lists of like myths and stuff about like Egypt, before I found that like fact or fiction one I liked, and it was talking about how it seemed like it was the middle of the desert, and then it showed the picture and you're like, wow, that's like 2 blocks away.
Yeah. They can like walk there.
Yeah, I'm like, it's just literally at the edge of their city. It's crazy. Right. Yeah, I definitely would have thought it was like, I don't know, the Grand Canyon in Las Vegas. It's a day trip. Like,
right. Not much around it. Yeah. I don't think.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm not trying to be all over the place here, but there was predictions made by Edgar Cayce, and he also was saying he thought it was built at this particular time, and he was a prophet, so people found that interesting, or he was clairvoyant, whatever. They called him a sleeping prophet.
Okay.
And he was also a Christian and a Sunday school teacher, so yeah, he's kind of interesting.
Okay.
But yes, we're talking about him because he said that in the first half of the 20th century that the Great Sphinx guarded the Hall of Records, or at least the entrance to it, which contained records of the lost civilization Atlantis brought to Egypt by its survivors. In more recent years, much debate led the Sphinx back into the mainstream media as its age came into question from various sources.
Okay.
Always being debated about this statue. People can't agree on much about it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say anything.
I mean, yeah, there's some like commonly held beliefs and stuff, but still, it's all conjecture, right? Or what is that the right word? When you're just like, okay, I see this, so there's a lot of pictures of this guy, so could it have been him that ordered it, or maybe his son, or like, yeah, it's all speculative.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Egyptologists in my segment too.
Yeah.
So Emile Barrés was a French Egyptologist. They talk about him a little bit. Some of the earliest modern excavations of the Great Sphinx at Giza were conducted by Barrés on behalf of the Egyptian Antiquities Service between 1925 and 1936.
Oh, wow.
It's
really early, it seems.
Yeah. It has been rediscovered, shall we say, after time. After it was lost to time. He was responsible for excavating the Sphinx enclosure, and he also made repairs to the monument during that period. Because when it was refound, if you will, it was buried up to its head in the sand.
Oh, okay.
Just like everyone does at the beach.
Go bury your brother in the sand.
Yeah. So it was he who finally removed the sand from above the Sphinx in modern times, afterwards building a retaining wall to help keep the monument clear of the surrounding desert sand. After rescuing the monument from the surrounding sand, he found it to be in a dilapidated state, riddled with large cracks and with much of its pharaonic period repair blocks fallen away. This is a long quote, I'm sorry. But yeah, it had been repaired obviously in the past, because they said in its period when it was first built, when the pharaohs were around, there was repair blocks. It's just old as fuck, and so it's so hard to learn anything. There's so many layers upon layers of information almost.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that's why I guess I never knew it was like one piece, because it doesn't look like one piece, but that would be the repair blocks, right?
Yeah, repair blocks. I think there's like other maybe little things surrounding it, and yeah, now this retaining wall, and
yeah,
there obviously was a lot more when it was first built, and everything looked a lot different then. Like the pyramids wouldn't have been just sand looking; they would have been white with those cool like silver tops. I think I saw in some recreation pictures.
Oh wow.
I
Yeah,
know,
if they
it would
painted
look a lot
it
different.
anything to look like what they painted like tomb walls, can you imagine what the Sphinx looked like?
Yes, it was probably painted, exactly.
Yeah,
it was like
probably
100%
amazing.
probably painted. Yeah.
Oh, it would have been like, can you imagine like it being all gold and then the sun just hitting it? You could see it from like miles and miles.
I think it's a lot of red. I think we'll get to it. Oh, sorry. We're on page 1. I'm scared now. No. It's so fascinating, though. A little bit more from that little quote about the history of it. In the course of this work, he, being Emile Berets, he also discovered 2 entrances, one located on the rump, just north of center.
The butthole of the Sphinx. I didn't think we'd be talking about the butt of the Sphinx today. The butt, the rear entrance of the Sphinx. The sphincter of the Sphinx.
If it was Austin Powers, it would be directly where his butthole would be, yeah.
The sphincter
and it would open like
Sphinx.
a sphincter, yeah. Oh my god, no, the sphincter of the Sphinx. Best quote of this episode. Merch idea? Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, back to the show. He recorded these finds. Wait, where am I here? Discovered 2 entrances. Oh my god, right in the middle of a sentence. One located on the rump, just north of center, and the other on the left or northern side of the monument, about halfway between the front and rear paws. That from ground level led to dead-end subterranean passageways. Or so they said. He recorded these finds, taking about 226 photos, and then sealed the entrances over with repair blocks and cement. Thanks. No.
Oh, fuck him.
Yeah. Afterwards, these discoveries were mostly forgotten. So that sucks. People aren't the greatest when it comes to keeping it, as it was found. Yeah. So, but not by all. It was not forgotten. In the 1970s, the Egyptian Antiquities Organization started doing restoration work and surveys around the Sphinx, reigniting some more interest. Of course, there are many different theories around the unknowns about the entire Giza plateau. People generally agree who they think built the Great Pyramid, which is why they also call it the Pyramid of Khufu, because they believe he ordered it built.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I didn't know the big one was also called that, but now I know. Khufu. So we don't know that for sure, though. We make assumptions based on the writing we can find, but if it took over 600 years to build, which I took from Eric von Doniken, who did some calculations in his book. It was very handy. It was like, if they move 10 blocks a day, it would take this many years, which is this many days, which is this many years. It was like 664 years or something. And I was like, holy shit. Like, that wouldn't, it's not completed in one, like, pharaoh's lifetime.
No.
Mm-hmm.
No. And I'm shocked that, like, that many, if it took that long, that many, like, in succession would continue working on it, you know? Not very often that the next leader's gonna keep working on something the other leader wanted to do, you know?
Right. But that, what do they call it? Bipartisanship. Like, oh, let's all work on this, even though it's not my platform or yours.
And I will never see it finished. It shall not be finished for another 200 years. Okay.
Right.
Like, that's crazy.
Like, that's a commitment. Why would you build something like that? Was it to unite your people?
Yeah.
You know, to look really good after? It can't just be like a tomb for like, one or two pharaohs. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like,
oh.
Because where would they be entombed? Well, they waited their 600 years for it to be finished.
Right? This is a very terrible funeral parlor idea.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The worst.
And like, also, why was it just built so far from where any materials are? Like wood, if you needed to build these sledges or whatever. There would have been water, I believe, from what I had seen. There was a lot, like, there was more of a waterway there, but still, it was just far from materials and, like, food sources to, like, feed all these people doing this and blah, 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 blah. Kind of like how the fuck did they make the Easter Island statues on a tiny little island where it can only hold so many people and, like, you have to do all this work and it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we have to talk about that because it's the context of how crazy these structures are and how they've stood through time and what the hell are they trying to tell us?
Right? So we can't build buildings that don't, like, freaking fail health codes, like, 10 years later.
I know, it's like something I heard where they're like, it's just like if someone finds the Statue of Liberty, like, 5,000 years from now when we decimated everything else. It was probably from that book too. They're gonna be like, oh, they worship the sun. There's a sun god. She's holding a torch,
Yeah. Probably.
Maybe.
I could live with that. The sun's pretty great. It's needed for virtually everything. So.
But they did put a time capsule. It's buried under New York, so maybe they'll figure it out.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
I like time capsules.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
Should put them everywhere. Just stupid shit. Just a note being like, haha, sucker, there's nothing in here.
Message in a bottle. Return to sender.
Yeah. Page could not be found, or page could not be displayed.
Oh, God. Okay. So,
anyway.
Secret Hall of Records. Some say yes.
That's what I'd hope. I mean,
I think it's a cool idea, for sure. And
the world's
why not? It's not
coolest
just a
library.
Dude, so cool. Oh my god. So, other things that are random facts, but that relate to this. So maybe not that random. Plato said that the time Atlantis existed was at the same time as Egypt was in their golden age. So, it's plausible, I think.
Yeah.
That there might be information in there. Might the Sphinx be like a remnant of, the golden era, I guess. Edgar Casey, that sleeping prophet guy, believed that under the right paw of the Sphinx was a secret hall of records from Atlantis. They knew they had to hide the prehistory even as their city was sinking. So they preserved it. That's what he says.
Oh, okay. I'd say there has to be something pretty fucking cool. They wouldn't just if they have 2 entrances, they wouldn't just put some random shit in there. It's got to be something
entrances,
awesome in the Sphinx.
Well, there was tunnels, but they just stopped somewhere. It's like, okay, why? Why would they bother? Yeah.
They went through 600 years building it and they didn't finish these tunnels? Question mark?
It's the oldest Winchester mystery house.
Yeah.
There's not a point to it.
Yeah.
All right. And then David Wilcock, he is one of the guys that appears in Ancient Aliens, so I know him. But I didn't like watch an episode of Ancient Aliens as my research. I watched the Smithsonian documentary video.
Okay.
And I listened to a podcast where a guy talked to an actual Egyptologist, and he has written like a book and stuff. And I was like, okay. I was like, these are good sources. So.
You didn't just watch Ancient Aliens. I love it.
Contrary to what my sister might think, no. No, I'm just kidding. But he said, I liked his quote, if we locate the original Hall of Records, we would essentially be accessing the equivalent of a Google search engine, but it's the Atlantean internet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And another one of those duders guys.
Those what? Duders, guys?
Yep.
Okay.
Another one of those ancient alien history show appearing guys, David Childress. I forget what they actually study and their real titles are in real life, okay? I don't know. He's not an Egyptologist specifically.
Yeah.
There's so many names. I'm sorry. I should just cut all this out. All I was going to say was said it may have technology and machines as well. So that could be cool, though. Could just have history, but could also have technology and machines, or possibly drawings and blueprints of technology and machines.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
There's probably some crazy shit painted in there. It's gotta be. They painted
it's like the how-to manual of how they built it.
Yeah. Well, they painted like inside everything else, it seems. I'm like, imagine if they crack that thing open. They should. Can they not?
Just go on in there.
Can they not?
Just go in through the nose. Like they did with...
Scoop out the brain. Like, can they not access the tunnels and then just keep going and then just reinforce it as they go? Can they not?
I mean, it seems like yes and no, because there's only certain people who are allowed to explore, and only in certain ways to avoid risking destroying it and things like that. They've done some testing and stuff. We'll get a little bit to it.
Okay.
Yeah. They've done some scanning. Some but yeah. So could be that the Sphinx has to do with King or Khafre. He does have a temple next to the Sphinx that connects to his pyramid, so to speak, with an underground causeway. But instead of it going directly from the Sphinx to the pyramid, it skirts around the Sphinx, suggesting that the lion was already there when it was built.
Oh,
so it's not a direct connection to Khafre, literally, at all. Also, they say if it's supposed to be him, why does he not have a beard? Because in all the other statues of Khafre, he has a beard. The Sphinx does not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of looks awkward, the Sphinx.
Exactly. It's all, it was all proportionate at one time maybe, but now it's all a bit janky.
Yeah, I don't think those paws were ever proportionate. Whatever that's supposed to be about. It's definitely got to be a lion body.
Yeah. So, and remember we said that Khafre was, the pyramid of Khafre, or the Great Pyramid, was behind the Sphinx.
Mm-hmm.
That's only if approached from the Cairo side. But anyone approaching the Sphinx probably would have come from the south, as there was a waterway leading from Memphis, which was in the south. Memphis was an old capital. Weird.
Oh, okay.
Didn't know that it wasn't just Memphis, Tennessee.
I was just thinking in my head, when you're like, from Memphis, I was like, wait, what?
I know. She can't be right there. But yeah, if they were going to use the waterway to bring up stones for building, they probably would have come from the south. And the whole plateau was different back then. There was actually a harbor in front of the Sphinx.
Wow.
And if you approach from the south, then the Sphinx was seen more in profile, not head on. And this would have probably made more sense of how they wanted you to view it because the hieroglyphics were all in profile, some theorize.
Yeah.
So just like a few different reasons why you probably wouldn't approach it from the Cairo side.
It definitely looks better from the side. They got profile shots down.
Now I'm sorry. It was so hard writing notes. There was so much information everywhere. I was like, did I not write what's behind it? I'm not sure what's behind it when it's in profile, but maybe I'll get to it. So Khufu has a tiny statue we can compare it to. It looks similar with a very square jaw. So it could be Khufu that the Sphinx is supposed to look like.
Oh, okay.
So many K names too. Khafre, Khufu.
Yeah.
So confusing. I'm so sorry.
I'm just sitting here looking at pictures of the Sphinx when it was buried by sand, and it's crazy.
Yeah, right?
It's like I just found one where there's, I don't know, probably 100 people all around it, and they're like on its shoulders and everything. I'm like, oh my god, that's so cool.
No kidding. I think I sent you some weird ones like that, like for the website. Yeah, because we should definitely show that. So 1,000 years it lay getting buried in the sand after King Thutmose IV first uncovered it.
Thutmose. What a name.
Thutmose. Yeah. Taserface. No, that's not the same, but it's also a funny name. It starts with T. Then the Greeks came to fuck shit up. They actually gave it the name the Sphinx. Did you know? I did not.
No, okay.
Yeah, they were the first ones to start calling it that. The Egyptians never called it that in any of their writing or anything. So, they made up their own version of the creature known as the Sphinx, and the Greeks depicted that creature as evil, and it had wings, and it was like an evil female mythological creature.
No.
So it wasn't
Why you do them like that?
Greeks, what's up? What are you doing? This confused things. People could confuse that the original lion creature, Sphinx thing, was evil. And it was all of a sudden thought to be a Western symbol of paganism. It's got a storied past. It's just...
Yeah.
She's been slandered all throughout the years. Poor Sphinxy.
Lies. Slanderous lies.
Oh, here's what I have about the nose. Not as much as you did. Surprisingly.
It's not Napoleon.
I
had never heard of that. I thought it was weird.
I had never even really wondered about the nose before. I guess I always assumed it just like fell.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's kind of dumb. So treasure hunters came thinking to find out if it had magical powers, and they destroyed parts of it, and then an Arab sheik came and hacked off the nose. That's all I had.
Oh, wow.
Which I think sort of lined up. I don't know.
Mine was a dude that he was just trying to get rid of like iconic images in Egypt, and he vandalized it and then was executed for it.
Oh,
so he just did it because he's like, fuck you. I don't like iconic landmarks, I guess.
Assholes.
Yeah.
Leave it alone. He even got called, or the Sphinx even got called the Father of Terror. Wait. I'm sorry. My notes.
The Father of Terror.
Yeah. I don't know, because it's not supposed to be a man. I don't know. Whatever. And it was used for shooting practice.
Oh, no.
It's crazy. It's like, yeah, of course you could hit that. It's gigantic.
Congratulations.
Interestingly enough, there have been remains found of a giant beard nearby.
Oh, okay.
A stone beard. It wasn't clear. But, so yeah, was it always there? Or could it have been added later on? Some say, well, wouldn't it have damaged the chin if it had always been attached in one stone and then fallen off? So maybe it was added later.
Oh, okay.
And
that makes sense.
Also, the beard design pattern apparently matches a period 100 years later than the Sphinx.
Oh, okay. So somebody just wanted to add a beard to it.
I'm like, don't really ask me how they know that, but they do.
Yeah, a beard style. That makes no sense.
Yeah. It's like mullets. Those were out then. Imagine if the Sphinx had a mullet.
Oh, God. That would be awful.
No, but the nemes, or the headdress, it matches at least one statue of Khufu. It has 2 narrow and 1 thick pleat, or stripe. So that's how they know it matches Khufu. Okay, so the guy, there's an Egyptologist from the documentary I watched. His name is Vasil Dobrev, and he has a theory about the Sphinx. He believes it was built by Khufu's son, Djedefre. Not a K name. It's a name that starts with DJ instead.
I had one of those too.
Exactly. Django. No.
Oh. Yeah.
Anyway. So not much is actually known about Djedefre, except for a book where an American archaeologist named George Reisner made up a story about him, which seems to have no basis in fact. Yeah. He said, not me. While Khufu and Khafre constructed towering pyramids at Giza, Djedefre built a smaller pyramid several kilometers away at Abu Roash. This led the American archaeologist George Reisner, who excavated the Giza plateau in the 1930s and wrote the definitive book about the site, to portray Djedefre as an outcast who murdered his elder brother, the heir to the throne. And this is a quote within a quote. We have absolutely no evidence to support this.
Oh,
but it
lovely.
was written in a very famous book, and slowly it became the rule, Mr. Dobrev said. So yeah,
just like when we did the Philosopher's Stone and the people made up the crap about Nicholas Flamel like 200 years after he died.
Oh man.
It was in a book. It must be true.
Yeah. You can't stop the smear campaigns after you're dead.
Yeah.
Sucks. I think that's what happened to poor Sarah Winchester, too. People just started talking about all that different stuff after she died.
Yeah.
And she couldn't be like, I'm not afraid of spirits in my house. Anyway.
Yeah.
In fact, there are hieroglyphics to disprove the theory that that Djedefre was an outcast who murdered his brother. Because they show that he gave the family money after the murdered brother's death. Like, he was definitely still in speaking terms.
Oh, okay. I love hieroglyphics. Yeah. They're just like how they ever got translated so accurately blows my mind.
Oh my god.
I like don't understand it.
Help.
Yeah, like how do you tell people apart and like oh gosh. Anyway.
Oh, and something I was reading said some of them were probably even misinterpreted, because there was one that some people think actually shows 2 gay men, but they actually had wives and families too, so that people were like, oh no, they're just close to each other a lot. Look, they have wives and children, but like they probably had wives and children, and they probably had a gay relationship as well.
Yeah, like people today don't have beard families. Oh my god.
Yeah. But I think they were all like probably cool with it. Anyway, I think that's awesome if it's true. Don't ask me where I heard that, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
I was probably watching some show.
Ancient aliens.
No, do you know what I've been binging a lot on Netflix that's actually really interesting? Maybe I talked about it. Explained. It's
yeah.
Quick, like 20-25 minute, sometimes even shorter than that, episodes, but just like money explained, billionaires explained. There's a sex series, there was a coronavirus one where each episode was on like vaccines or just,
Yeah.
you know, different origin of, and like,
I watched
yeah.
the COVID one right when COVID was first happening,
Oh.
and I was like
Yeah,
sitting
it's out
there,
of date
and
now.
they're like, yeah, it's gonna, or it took, what, the Spanish flu was like a 3-year epidemic, and people were like, COVID's gonna go away in 6 months, and I was sitting there and I was like, yeah, try 3 years, and I was right.
Yes, but they also, yes, they did an episode in late 2019 that said, and like Bill Gates was on it and stuff, being like, yeah, there's gonna be a pandemic in the next little bit, and then
Yeah.
bam, yeah.
And then at the bottom of every interview, it just had, this was
Pre.
yeah, like, this video interview was from 2019, in March of 2019 or something, and predates COVID. It is not specific to COVID or something.
Right,
Yeah.
but they were so right.
Yeah, I watched that, and then everybody's like, yeah, it's gonna go
Fascinating.
away, and we're not gonna have to deal with it, and I'm sitting there going, no, it's gonna, like, go down, and we're gonna probably deal with it for the rest of our lives. It's gonna be like the flu, you're probably gonna get vaccinated every year.
Right.
Yeah.
Variants. Anyway.
Yeah.
Whew. This has been COVID Corner. Okay, so... So that Egyptologist Vasil Dobrev thinks he... Jadefre, if we forgot who we were talking about, sought to unify the Egyptian people after a rough patch. And that maybe that's why he built it.
Yeah, I believe that. It probably
It's
has
definitely
something
something.
in it, but it's gotta be a symbol of something.
Yeah. So the Great Pyramid was already there when the Sphinx was built. And they had carved out so many rocks for the pyramid, I guess, that it had left a big limestone chunk left raw and ready to be sculpted.
Oh, okay.
First few inches, anyway.
Yeah.
I watched this YouTube video where this guy was trying, like, he bought a bunch of limestone, like he was like a researcher of some kind or historian or whatever, and he was like, oh, it would have been like this, and he's chunking away at it, and then after like 4 or 5 inches or whatever, he's like, oh, now it's hard. Not so soft after a few inches.
I'm like just shocked. I can't comprehend any of it.
It's amazing. I still know nothing after doing all this research, and I have like so many pages of notes.
Right.
Oh my god, we could do like a so many parter on this, I feel like. Anyway. No, we're good. So wait.
Part 32 of Egypt.
Just turns into a side podcast.
About Egypt. Yeah.
Armchair detectives. Okay. What am I saying? Great Pyramid was already there, and Jadefre knew how important it was for Egyptians to retain their power after their death. They still need believers on Earth to believe in the old king and to honor him. And he might have also been inspired, like his mother's tomb had been raided, which is the biggest sign of dishonor or disrespect to the dead in Egyptian culture. Yeah. They would have used copper tools to make the Sphinx, constantly sharpening them to keep the work going. Ooh, also the actor they used to portray Jadefre in the reenactment was soups hot.
Great. Thank you.
Just saying.
I have no
Thanks,
context.
Smithsonian documentary. Yeah.
Smithsonian knows what's up. Knows
They
why
do.
we're watching these reenactments.
Smithsonian fucks. No. There is a fissure or a crack that you can it's got a hole in the rump and a crack. Now, okay. That you can still see the evidence of that probably caused a big chunk to fall off that they didn't want. It's like a big fissure.
Oh, okay.
And they believe that may have affected the proportions of the body and the length of the body, making it longer and skinnier than they intended.
That's why it's all weird.
Could be part of it. And also, fun fact, Jadefre means son of Frey, and Frey means to show or to act.
So he's just a showman.
That's right. He decided to make the greatest show on Earth, the Sphinx. Oh, there's just so many like theories and facts. And okay, so the lion symbolizes the sun. That's another fun fact about the lion.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That makes sense.
I guess in Egyptian lore, I suppose. Mythology. This is cool. Godfrey had 2 big ships built, or rather all the parts of a ship. The keel, the masts, the decks, whatever. And they were buried next to the Great Pyramid, so his father could sail the Nile in the afterlife with the sun god Ra.
Aw, that's nice.
I know. I did not know that, and I think it's really cool, yeah. Then the enclosure wall of the pyramid was completed and laid on top of them, hiding the pits that they were buried in. They were not even discovered until 1955.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did a
Way
good
after
job.
the Sphinx. Mm-hmm. Godfrey was obsessed with statues, art, sculptures, and stone. Before the Sphinx, it seems there were only small statues in tombs. Nothing like the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Vasil, from the documentary, he discovered 2 small Sphinx heads that may have predated the big guy and might have been like practicing on.
Yeah,
And
you don't want to fuck up the face.
You don't want to fuck up the face, no. One of them might have been Godfrey's wife, so that was another little bit of a clue, I guess. And for the color, the face would have been red, is what they found. I can't remember exactly how they know this, but they know.
Wow.
I guess because of other statues and how they were painted and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then, like, yeah, there would have been striped the headdress, the nemes or whatever. Would have been like, I think that was gold and blue or whatever, probably. And then Godfrey died and no one completed his temple, sadly.
No.
I know. And that's when Khafre, his half-brother, succeeded him. And I think we said he was the one that's the big pyramid is associated with.
Oh,
if I remember correctly.
It's been so long.
It's been since the middle of this episode. Are you still with us? Hello, guys? All right. Okay, so there was a Egyptologist from the podcast that I mentioned. His name is Menu. Yep, that's a last name. Sefzadeh. I cannot remember how he pronounced it. I'm so sorry. It's like Seyfzadeh.
Yeah.
If that helps you any.
Nope. I'm not gonna attempt to try.
I just called him Manu in my notes.
That works.
Well, that's his first name. Yeah, exactly. So he wrote a book called Under the Sphinx. He thinks the Hall of Records was actually breached, probably, because of, quote, esoteric evidence in the Middle Egyptian cemetery of Hermopolis. So, esoteric meaning it's like so specific to like whatever that one region or specialization or whatever that it's probably could only have come from the Hall of Records, they figure.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, I guess you guys know, I don't. But yeah, this was in Hermopolis, an ancient Egyptian capital city. And, oh yes, Herodotus, that guy, he comes up now.
Yeah, the guy that was unreliable, apparently.
Yes, and he was just an ancient, he was an ancient Greek writer, historian, and geographer, but yeah, like you said, apparently he made a mistake or two.
Yeah.
He said that, an underground library existed. He said, "This I have actually seen, a work beyond words. For if anyone put together the buildings of the Greeks and display of their labors, they would seem lesser in both effort and expense to this labyrinth. Even the pyramids are beyond words, and each was equal to many and mighty works of the Greeks. Yet the labyrinth surpasses even the pyramids."
Ooh, I ran across the labyrinth a bit when I was looking for something to cover. I didn't do a lot of
Oh.
research on it.
Because is he saying that this is the labyrinth, like that the Hall of Records is in? I thought that's why I put it in here.
Well, I don't know. The Labyrinth was like a 300 room, like, maze that was supposed to be like 200 feet tall, that you were supposed to, only specific people knew how to navigate through it. And it was like,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it was from the Greeks, right? Yeah. Yeah. I guess he's just
think so.
referencing the pyramids and the labyrinth.
Yeah, because they say the Labyrinth is
But-
supposed to be the biggest lost monument in Egypt or something.
Okay.
Because it's so tall. It's so tall and it's
That's
huge.
cool.
It's like 8 to 10,000 square feet or something.
Wow.
It's supposed to be like the biggest lost monument. It's probably buried in the sand somewhere.
It's just all full.
Just like the Sphinx was.
Yeah, you're lucky it just had a tall head.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are 6 chambers actually in the body that we know of, and many tunnels. But they're, like, not obviously all explored.
Yeah.
I think they're just tiny also, and some of the times, like, I'll get to it a little bit. I don't have, like, a whole lot more, but, like, they use robots and shit. Excuse me.
That's the safest thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And now that we have technology, it's an
Yeah.
option. So the Manu Egyptologist was saying that in the 1860s, a chamber was discovered at the base of the big fissure, the Great Fissure, the crack of the Sphinx.
Yeah.
And that the fissure was probably in the rock long before the Sphinx was constructed, but maybe they used that to their advantage to help build a better tunnel because it was already there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some have drilled into the Sphinx and have reported back and claimed there are no cavities or hollowed out areas, so that's a little weird. Like, there's some shady stuff
Yeah.
that people say, and then it's like refuted. Like, they're saying there's no holes inside, yet there's these pictures of people and Egyptologists like stuck up to their waist in it. Like,
Yeah.
how could there be no holes if they're like poking their head out?
Yeah, I'm like, I just found a picture that's a dude, like, in the top of it. There's a cavity in its head, and it says a man standing in a cavity at the head of the Sphinx. And he's, like, on top of it, and he's, like, up to his shoulder, like, his head's popping out, and he's got his arms up. He's standing.
Yeah, a bunch was the same guy. I can't remember exactly which archaeologist. Maybe that George Reisner guy. I don't know. But they were talking about it a bunch. It was like,
Yeah.
what the hell? How can you say that? We have
Yeah.
proof.
Weird.
Oh yeah, even the host was like, why do you think there's so much resistance to like exploring? And then the Egyptologist was like, probably like a lot of things like tourism. They don't want to hurt. They don't want to ruin all the mystery. And then there's also the preservation, of course, of
Yeah.
the statue itself. Just tourism. No.
Yeah.
Well, because it would also, like, if it's just discovered that it's associated with one religion, then, like, maybe people of the other other religions won't want to come visit it. Like, it's just gonna, like, I don't know. They're
Yeah.
afraid of what it could do. So, in Manu's book, he says that he mentions a document held at a British museum that dates to about 1200 BC. This text states that the Hall of Records is a book by Thoth. There's that Thoth guy again.
Not South, but South.
It's like sloth with a speech impediment. No.
Yeah.
But they think that, or he thinks that the Hall of Records is like a book by Thoth, and it's stored under the feet of the Great Sphinx. And yeah, they said that Thoth is the Egyptian god of writing and knowledge. So I guess that's another thing he's associated with, as well as the moon and whatnot.
Yeah, I ran across a few things. That,
He's a busy god.
Yeah, just like Mercury in the Philosopher's Stone.
Oh,
Everything
my
comes up every
God.
5 seconds.
that was a fucking awesome Patreon episode. Mercury! Get the fuck out of here. You again.
every 5 seconds. It's like literally every third sentence. And Mercury. Oh, Mercury also stands for this now. And oh, now it stands for this now.
Guys, if you don't know, we did an alchemy episode and it was fun.
Yeah. Some Harry Potter stuff in there.
It had it all.
some Philosopher's Stone knowledge.
Yeah, it was good. Very few people are allowed access to study in the area. No ground-penetrating radar is allowed on the Giza Plateau whatsoever.
Really?
That's no fun.
I feel like the radar is pretty uninvasive.
I don't know. Is that the one where you, like, put a bunch of little things in the ground and then kind of detonate them off? Because they did something like that on Oak Island. And I can't remember what it was called.
No, I thought that was, like... Let me Google it.
Yeah. Because, like, sonar and things like that are not invasive. No. Clearly, this is my area of expertise.
It's a geophysical method that uses radar pulses to image the surface. It's non-intrusive method of surveying.
Oh,
so
okay.
why the fuck do they not use it? Yeah, it's like little radar guns that, like, sit at surface level. Yeah, it's like using a, like, metal detector that, like, just goes on the surface.
I know they had done something like it in the past, because I had read that there was at least one study where because they talked about finding the cavity under the feet. Anyway, Manu believes that the money, in his words, is in the anomaly or cavity under the paws. And then also the anomaly at the Great Fissure. He thinks those are both very important and they should be the ones explored as the main cavities. Yeah. Other people even argue that these anomalies could be naturally formed, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it could be like a fissure that's big enough and appears to be like a tunnel or something.
Right. I guess it's possible. And Manu talks of a wooden plate that depicts the view as one would see it from the top of Gible. What the hell am I writing? I think I spelled that on my own. And didn't look up. When you hear something on the podcast and you can't double check when it's not an article you're reading, I was like, oh my god, what does that mean? Okay, but it was... Oh my god. This is hard. Okay. Okay, so this is something depicting the view as seen 5,000 years ago, and it shows a monolithic lion statue. So this could have been evidence of some of the, like, maybe inspiration or preparation? I don't know.
Oh, okay. These are the drawing plans.
Yeah, this is evidence. There is a lioness in Egyptian mythology named Mahit, who was an Egyptian goddess, and there is a 5,000-year-old, he called it a ceiling, and it shows Mahit, I don't know if that means an actual ceiling. It shows Mahit with a chisel atop it, and like he's saying all this is like, Mahit is a lioness, Egyptian goddess, and she's got a chisel on top of her, so that clearly this is maybe who it originally was depicting was a lioness goddess.
Oh, okay. She chiseled herself out of limestone, maybe?
I don't know. Some people even think, I don't know if I even talked about this, that the head is even too small and might not even be the original head. Like, there's just so much confusion.
Yeah, it does look kind of... All the proportions are off. Looks weird.
It's crazy, man. Okay, this is kind of cool, but it's really hard for me. It was really hard for me to understand.
Oh, God.
Manu, the Egyptologist, talks about evidence in his book that has to do with what he says was the date of the original creation of the Sphinx.
Okay.
Because all we really know is that it was sometime in the age of, like, it's obviously very rough.
Yeah.
Somebody said earlier they thought that it was 10,000 years old. Apparently the most common belief is that it is about 4,500 years old.
Okay.
So, Manu says he used 2 astronomical cycles overlaid upon each other, the equinoxes and the lunar cycle. And this is how he arrived at a date. It commemorates a lunar eclipse on the day of when he laid them on top of each other. Yeah. He got a lunar eclipse on top of the day of a vernal or spring equinox, which apparently only happens every few centuries. And this was in the age that it was supposed to have happened. And so if his theory is correct, he doesn't just know the exact year, but he knows the exact day that they started it.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Sorry, I just leaned away from my mic.
Kind of, I guess. I don't know. I'm not up to date on, like, lunar cycles. I don't know any of that stuff.
Oh, yeah, it's a lunar. He thought it happened on the day that a lunar eclipse happened on a spring equinox. Equinox is, like, longest, shortest days of the year, and those, whatever. It's, like, really weird. In conclusion, the head could be newer. There is a stump on the back just behind the head.
Yeah.
Decay analysis could take it as far back as 10,000 years BC, but most say not 20,000. It's not plausible due to decay, but it's basically a frickin' mystery.
Yeah.
It's just as much as the pyramids. Yeah. And I could talk about mysteries in the pyramids too.
Oh, well. We might have to come back to Egypt and do another one. Because, yeah, there's still a lot we could talk about.
I know.
Yeah, we already told you what next week is. It's kidnappings, right? Yes? Question?
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes.
Yeah. And then I immediately confused myself again. Yes, kidnappings. Yeah. So, thanks for listening. And catch us next time for next kidnapping. Bye.
Bye.
This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.